Okay. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varshistante Vasat Rishiganaihi Avrita Brahmanishtahi Acharyendram Karakalita Chenmudramananda Rupam Swadma Ramam Mudita Vadanam Dakshinamurtimide Vatavitapi Samipe Bhumi Bhage Nishannam Sakalamni Jananam Jnanatataramharat Tribhuvanagurumisham Dakshinamurti Devam Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham Namami Chitram Vatataror Mule Vriddha Shishya Gurur Yuva Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam Shishyastu Chinna Samshaya Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam Bhishaje Bhavaroginam Gurave Sarva Lokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Vishwandarpana Dishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivod Bhutam Yatha Nidraya Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Yasye Sarvam Kivankuro Jagadidam Prang Nirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana Vaichitrya Chitri Kritam Maya Viva Vijrambayatyapi Maha Yogi Vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Yasyaiva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asatkalparthakam Bhasate Sakshat Tattvamasiti Veda Vajasa Yo Bodhayatyashritan Yat Sakshat Karanat Bhavenna Punara Vrittir Bhavam Bho Nidhau Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Nana Chitra Gatodara Sthitamaha Deepa Prabhabhaswaram Jnanam Yasya Tu Chakshuradikarana Dwara Bahirspandate Janami iti tamev bhantam anubhatye samastam jagat tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye nama idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Deham pranamapi indriyanapi chalam buddhim cha shunyo vidhahu Sri Balanda Jadopamastvamiti Bhranta Bhrisham Vadinaha Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpitamaha Vyamoha Samharine Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Rahu grastamivankarendu sadrisho Maya samachadinat Sanmatra karanopasamharanato Yo bhut sushuptav puman Pragaswab samiti prabodha samaye Yav pratyabhikyayate Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye nama idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Balyadishu api jagradadishu tatha Sarvasvavasthasvapi Vyavrittasvanuvartamanamaham Ityantaspurantam sada Swatmanam prakatikaroti bhajatam Yo mudraya bhadraya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye nama idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Vishwam pashyati karyakaranataya Swaswami sambandhataha Shishyacharyataya tathaiva pitra Putradhyatmana bhedataha Swapne jagrati vaya esha purusho Maya paribramitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Bhurambhamsya nalo nilo Ambar maharnartho himamshuf puman Ityabhati characharatmakamidam Yasyaiva murtyashtakam Nanyat kinchana vidyate vimrishatam Yasmat parasmat vibhoho Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Sarvatmatvamiti sputi kritamidam Yasmat amushminstave Tenasya shravanat tadarthamananat Dhyanat cha sankirtanat Sarvatmatvamaha vibhuti sahitam Syadishwaratvam swataha Siddhyet tat punarashtadha parinatam Chaishwaryam avyahatam. I don't know if I requested you to see if you can learn to chant this by heart. But I think that would be a good goal for you to have. I don't know if anybody is doing it at the moment. So I think it'd be good to, it's only 10 verses and the last line is common. So that only leaves you with 3 lines, so 30 lines. It shouldn't be that hard. I think it's a matter of, this is an important thing for us to do, not just for this. But what they say is that after you have studied the subject matter, then one other thing that is required. There's some differences opinion in this. Some people say, no, that's all that you need to do. But I think the more I read, the more it is said, there is something more that you need to do to make it into an effective make it effective in your life. You have knowledge. First of all, we are not sure that we have the knowledge because we still are learning and so on. But even after you do, there is something more that is required, which is termed differently by different people, but Swami Maheshananji calls it ekagrata. Ekagrata. Ekagrata means the ability to focus on something which normally it is scattered. And so I think that as an aid to meditation also, what you will see, what you should see is that after you go through the simple steps of meditation, which we have gone through, where you have, you sit erect and close your eyes and all of those kinds of things. But once you start to meditate, then it requires some time before you can really make it effective. And the way to make it effective is through ekagrata. And so this is slightly different in terms of, although this is a good example, because we have been doing this, once a week you have this, and so you should be able to just focus on the words. And it's a very good exercise to try to do that on your own so that it becomes natural. But this is just one exercise. The main thing you will be doing is to prepare yourself for an effective meditation. And so the meditation means that once you sit down in the morning, and in the first you say, Atma, and then, it is birthless and so on, and your mind is not really focused on the birthlessness of the Atma, it still goes into other places, then you have to just build the skill to keep focusing on it. And it takes a while for you to learn. And then you will find that every morning you will see your meditation becoming more meaningful, deeper, more effective. And so this is what is called ekagrata. And Swami Maheshananji is quite insisting on this. He says you have to do this. Without that, you are missing out on the getting the phalam, getting the fruits of everything that you have learned. You haven't really put it together. So I think as an exercise, because there's only 10 verses, I really urge you to, at your own pace, it won't take you that long. And it's a great, we're obviously, if you were 5-year-old, you will know this. I still remember when I went to the PRC ashram, my kids had not yet finished school, so I was there alone. And once they finished the school in June, then they joined me. And my older son was 10 years old at that time. And I tell you, within 1 week, he had better chanting memory than I did for the last 6 months. So I could first time appreciate that there's something, these young people have a different way of Bhagwan has given them. So it's a little bit more difficult, but nevertheless not that difficult. And it's a great sense of accomplishment if you can slowly practice so that you can learn it by heart. So I suggest that you do that. That will be fun for you. And pretty soon I think you'll, as we will finish the course, we will revise the whole thing, do some meditation, so that this whole package of 10 verses becomes yours, and you can chant it, you can think about it, and it'll become a great aid for you for your knowledge. Okay, so let's do this. I prepared a kind of I tried this on the Gita class and it seems to work well, so I thought we will extend it to this class also. So, as you know, we had started the 8th verse last week, and the main purpose of the 8th verse is a revision. And we went through this at some length as to why there is a revision necessary, what is the utility of it, all that we have done. So I won't repeat all of that. And then the revision is not an exact repetition, because there is so much to learn that you can always change the examples, change the vision, and not the vision, but the aspect of looking at the vision differently. So even though it is a revision, that doesn't mean that it's a same words being spoken as before. And so this is interesting, because here in the 8th verse also, the Manasa Ullasa. See, this is the beauty about studying this verse with the help of Manasa Ullasa. Because Manasa Ullasa, as you know very well, I'm just reminding you, was composed, Dakshinamurthy Stotram was composed by Adi Shankara, as you know. And Manasa Ullasa was composed by one of his 4 direct disciples. And that is Sureshwaracharya. And out of the 4, he was considered to be the more everybody was clear, but he, in his expressions and his writings, and he's written a little of things that Adi Shankara has composed. And so he has written Manasa Ullasa. And as an explanation for the very terse concepts in Dakshinamurthy Stotram. And if he has written Manasa Ullasa, then he also he's a great scholar, obviously, a great, very, Mahatma in his own way. And so if he composes something that it has a lot of meaning, what should be done, what should not be done is already very clearly done. And so the way he has now composed the Manasa Ullasa, which I'm saying as MU, verse number 2 is MU, not the Dakshinamurthy Stotram verse number 2. And the way he has done it is, he has posed a question in the form of a doubter or even a student. It doesn't have to be a doubter, it could be a student. And goes over the same material, because it's a revision, in a different way than it was done before. That's all. Poses a slightly different set of questions. And the questions he poses, and then proceeds to answer it, is, you're talking about being bound and being free. Who is it who's actually being bound? What is the nature of that person? What do you mean by bondage? Then what causes this bondage? And if you keep saying that it is Maya, can you explain one more time what Maya is? So this is the set of questions which was composed, and I'm giving you some references so that later on, if you study and if you want to go into more detail through some other books, you can at least have so. And here I'm not going to spend as much time in the interest of moving fast, but I'll give you the conceptual summary of each of these verses, or at least most of these verses, not all of them, Manasa Ullasa verses. And so this is Manasa Ullasa number 2. So a revision in the form of answering these types of questions is the reason for verse number 8. So Chandra, I tried to get the space between them, but I still haven't really done it enough. So I don't want to really read ahead too much time, but anyway, I'm still working on it. I think it's a good tool once we raise it up, and it also helps me to compose something which I know will be taking about an hour or so. And if we don't finish it, we can do it next time, and it's a good record. So I'm beginning to really like this tool, and I think it'll be good that we'll be using it. So the Dakshinamurthy verse number 8, which we have already done last week, we went through the word meanings, mostly the word meanings so far, is the answer to these kinds of questions. That is, Those are the questions that were kept in mind when Adi Shankara composed verse number 8, which was, as you know, Vishwam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandhata, etc. Those one. So now verse number 5. So verse number 3 or 4 or something like 4 or 5, 3 or 4 has some other commentary on it which is related to the two. There's nothing new about it, so I'm skipping that. But in MU number 5, it basically states the answer in a very concise form. And this should become very clear to us, to a point where you can even practice in your own mind that if somebody were to ask you, see, these are questions that a layman would ask you, or you should pretend that a layman asks you. One who is layman means one who is not familiar with Vedantic tradition, Vedantic teaching at all. It's a normal person. And he says, what do you mean by bondage? And who gets free? And how is it caused? I don't understand what you're saying. Can you explain that to me? Then you should be able to explain at least what the basic answers are. You may not yourself feel that this is exactly, it doesn't flow yet naturally, but at least you know what words to use and what concepts to use in answering them. So that is a way you should do that, really. And so there, in verse number 5, the basic answer is that all the sense of duality, and so duality really means plurality, really, because all plurality can be broken down into duality. It's either I or not I. Those are the only two things. So you don't have to say that person, that person, that person. All of those can be collapsed into not I. So duality and plurality means the same thing in the technical language of Vedanta. All duality is the nature of imagination, which is called kalpana. Imagination on the basic non-changing nature of the Atma. This is the basic definition of duality. So here the word, imagination means, and we will now explain what it means, but at least the definition should be very clear. That as a beginning point, if you were to answer someone, this is the first statement you should make. It is all in the form of imaginations. This is a good word, imagination, because imagination means that it could be real or it cannot be real. It's just taken for something, but we are not talking about its authenticity. It is just something which is done, as we will see how we behave in our life. So really speaking, all our duality, all our experiences, all of our attitudes towards them and so on, is fluff. Fluff. Just for example, Vacharambanam Namadheyam Mrittika Ityeva Satyam. That all things are really Namamatram. They are just meant for names, as we will see again. This is beautiful. I'm just giving you the sum. And so this is number one. And the second one is that these duality is in various forms, such as cause-effect relationships. So cause-effect relationships, and then Saswami Sambandhataha, Shishyacharya, Guru, etc., and Swaswami, etc. All of these kinds of things are all dualities that are caused by a sense of imagining things. So this is the basic statement that underscores the answer. And now we go into the details of what that means. So one thing that, so what will happen is, in this verse, the answer of the question, explain what Maya is, will be done quite well. We will now have a better sense of what Maya is, what is the definition, what do you mean exactly by Maya? So that will be done later on, and I think this verse does it's all done even before, but here this is done in a very focused way as a reminder, so that things become very clear in our mind. So, this is taken up in various ways. So, for instance, in the Manasa Ullasa number 7, so what this means is, if you look back, what it means is that all imaginations are done on the same substratum, which is Brahman, and you can call it Paramatma, Parameshwara, you can call it Ishvara, you can call it Brahman, we can call it Atma, the same thing. There are different words that are used from different aspects, but it all refers to the same Vastu, same true Vastu, which is an unchanging consciousness, which is free of time and space and Vastu Bheda. All imaginations are done on this basis, on top of this basis. And so do you know what that means? What it means is that both a worshipper, as an example, and worshipped, what is called Upasya and Upasaka, are the same person. Because there is no other material. It's not as though, so in the example of the ocean, where one of the waves is complaining. The wave was a person. The wave is complaining that my neighboring whale is bothering me. He keeps on hitting me, and he threatens to devour me, and he's bigger than me, and I'm afraid of it. I need help. Save me. So there it is, in order to explain that you have got it all wrong, you have taken an identification with your nama rupa, your name and form, as a wavelet. And with respect to that, you are now afraid of the other wave. But please see that both you and this threatening wave is made out of the same water. It may be hard for you to go over this fact. Just like, if somebody comes in to rob you, and it is very difficult for us to forgive the robber, especially if he does bodily harm and so on. How are we going to forgive him, because it's a completely different person? He's threatening me. But the fact of the matter is that really that also is formed of the same consciousness as you are. And this is a fact. And how it happened and why it happened is a different matter. But the basic thing to understand is there is not a different person that is made of a different set of materials. It isn't. So therefore, the Paramatma alone plays the role of both sides, the worshipped and the worshipper. All side, in all dualities, all pluralities, it's the same person who's playing all the roles. And here Swami Paramarthananda has said, just like your own hand massages the own hand. And there is a massager and there is a massaged. But it all belongs to you. You don't sometimes, you may need a masseuse to massage you if you are in big pain. But most of the time you can just scratch it yourself and just this is enough. So it's something like that, as an example. So Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, sometimes if you're talking too fast or eating too fast, your tongue is bitten by your teeth. And it's quite painful at times. But you don't knock the teeth. You don't take a brick and say, my God, you're so silly. Here, I'll break you. The reason is that the tongue which is bitten and the teeth which is biting are both belong to you. And all you'll say, you don't even know what to say to yourself. You'll say, why did I do that? How did it happen? And you didn't do it consciously, but in the matter of eating or speaking, something happens, and then one part of you injures the other part. So it's something like that, in that sense. So therefore, we can now make a sweeping statement, which is, this is an answer to the question, who exactly is bound and who becomes free? So the answer to that is, it is Paramatma alone who is bandha and who is mukta. None other than that, because there is no other reality. What can you say? So both sides of the duality, when resolved to its basic nature, resolves into the same thing. You can call it Paramatma, Parameshwara, Brahman, Atma is the same thing. So what it really means is that the whole Srishti, the whole creation, has a form called Vyavaharika Sat, a transactional reality, which for a while it's kind of like two people playing two roles in a movie, and it's the same director, it's just meant for entertainment. Exactly, this is what happened. The whole thing is nothing but a very sophisticated entertainment. And Swami Paramarthananda, in his commentary on I think it was in Ashtavakra Gita, he had pointed out that what was the example I was thinking of? He was saying that even though this is entertainment, but you sometimes, even in entertainment, you go through sukha dukkha. Like, for example, he gave the example of this reality shows where people, I don't know, I think my family was watching this reality show, which was a mind-boggling thing. There was a reality show where a man and a woman were completely naked, and they were in Alaska in the freezing cold, in below zero, and their job was to go traverse for 1 month. they were just freezing themselves, and they were not supposed to wear any clothes. This is also entertainment. What kind of an entertainment it is? I mean, as soon as it drops down to 50, we start putting sweaters and so on and so forth. And these two guys willingly are going through this thing. But this is what this world is all about. Same thing if you look at the sports. It's very interesting. Football is a major in a crossroads, because now it is known that all that hitting on the head really causes trauma, and there's a lot of problems. But people do it. They'll say, "Oh, it's great fun." So there is something called Vyavaharika Sat. Even though it is in a form of a serious entertainment with problems and so on and so forth, but this is what reality. But ultimately, nothing happens. So this is I'll cite this one very beautiful verse from the very first verse of Drikdrishya Viveka. So look at this. This is an important thing to see in this context. And the verse says, Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik. Means the forms that you see are seen by you. Drishyam means seen. And the seer is your pair of eyes. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam. Lochanam means eyes, or one eye, is Drik. But here's the sense of duality. The Lochanam is not only Drik. The next one says, Tat Drishyam Driktu Manasam. Tat Drishyam means Lochanam becomes Drishyam. See the point? So I'll repeat this. So this is an important thing that I thought I will insert that in this. This is not given in the Manasa Ullasa, but I'm just importing it from another text. But it's the same concept. And the concept is that if something changes its roles, it is not real. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik Tat Drishyam Driktu Manasam. Then what is the thing? The next one is then Manasa becomes Drishyam, and the Sakshi becomes the Drik. And the Sakshi never becomes a Drishyam. Drik eva tu na drishyate. That is the last one. Drik eva, in the middle there is something else. But in the end, the Sakshi is Drik only. So what it means is that if a Vastu sometimes becomes Drik, so like for example, your eyes are seeing forms, but then all of a sudden the mind says, I cannot see very well. How does it know? Because it knows the state of the eyes. And you say, the eyes are not seeing very well. That means the eyes become Drishyam, and the manas, the manaha becomes Drik. And the manaha becomes Drishyam because the Sakshi sees that I am disturbed, I'm happy, I'm unhappy. So here the basic what is left with this whole thing is that if there is a Vastu that changes its roles, changes its nature, then it is not real. It is relative only. Because what is real never changes. So Drik alone, Chit alone is the reality. It never becomes Drishyam. Atma never becomes Drishyam. It is always Drik. I know, I know, I know. I see, I see, I see. Everybody. And you cannot see my Atma, I cannot see your Atma. We can only see your Sthula Sharira and to a certain extent your Sukshma Sharira, but never the Atma. So that means that the duality of the roles is only transactional reality. Vyavaharika Sat, never the Paramarthika Sat. Paramarthika Sat is Drigeva Natu Drishyate. So now the examples are given. Take a look at this. The duality of a person. Here, a male. The person can be both. Sometimes it's a son, sometimes it's a father, or sometimes a mother, sometimes a daughter. And there's not a fixed one. Not only that, I'm saying that here. No, I don't think so. I'm saying that. So here also it says that the father, the designation of the father, the identity of the father is not there the moment the son is not yet born. Or if, God forbid, the son should die, he is no longer the father. This is as changeable as that. So if it was a real father, it'd always be a real father. That's not the case. I depend upon somebody being born who can call me father. This is transactional reality. It is not real reality. And same thing happens in this example. Swami Maheshananji gives that we human beings, we pray to devatas. We go to the local temple and to Rama and Krishna or to anyone, Ganesha, and we bow to them. So they are the upasya, I am the upasaka. But then the devas, they pray to the heavenly king of the heaven called Indra, because they have to keep him in good humor. So this is exactly what happens, is the sense of competition, sense of longing, not getting what you want, all of that continues even in heaven. And so you have to be on the good side of Indra, because everybody else is also trying to be on their good graces. You remember that famous joke that Swami Dayanandji gave? I think you must be bored. I've said this about 50 times already. But so I still remember we had arranged for some talks by Swami Dayanandji at the Fremont Temple a long time ago. It was a funny situation because I think he's no longer there. There used to be a Shastriji there. And this Shastriji, bless his heart, was an interesting guy. So we are having talks, and Swamiji is sitting with his back to the devatas, and we are all sitting there, and there were about 150, 200 people, and whatever can be accommodated. And you would think that Shastriji will keep quiet and not do anything. He was carrying on his own show. People will be coming in and he will be talking, okay, put your bananas over there, and so on and so forth. It was so distracting. And we sort of assumed that he would be doing okay. But he didn't. Anyway, I remember that fact so much. Anyway, so it was at that time that Swamiji gave this joke. And he said that there was a teacher of Gita who was teaching early in the morning in New Delhi, in Old Delhi actually, in Old Delhi. And he was told that, listen, if you keep on teaching Gita, then your place in heaven is assured. Pakka. You're definitely going to give a very nice place there, and so on and so forth. And so this fellow thought that I'm doing the best I can. And he died. And sure enough, he woke up and he found, wow, this is true. This is heavens. So I have a big bungalow, and I have a lot of help being given, and I have a nice car, and everybody was all helping him. He said, oh, wonderful, wonderful, so nice. So he went out for a walk. And he found that his next door house was a palace. And it was a helicopter there, not just a car. And he had uniformed people with, this is all Swamiji talking, that he had uniformed, helpers and so on and so forth. So he got very curious. He says, I have done some punya in my life. I've taught some Gita classes, so I'm well rewarded. What must he have done? There must be somebody really amazing. So they asked his people. He says, who was this guy? So pretty soon, from the helicopter comes out a guy who was not well shaven, and his clothes were torn, and he had a kind of like a drink in his hand, and he was obviously not a good person. So they said, who is he? He says, he's the owner of this place. He said, he is the owner of this place? No way, I can't believe this. We rushed off to Indra and said, Indra, I have a complaint. Indra says, I know what your complaint is. I know exactly, I've been expecting you. Sit down. So he says, explain this to me. What is this? This is absolutely, there's no law here. He says, listen. So I'll tell you what, this is interesting. So Indra gets his orders from Prajapati. Prajapati is Brahmaji, and the last step before Ishvara. So he says, listen, what am I supposed to do? Prajapati has given me a checklist of things based on which I give them the proper things. So he says, what is it? What did he do? He says, you know what he did? He says, Prajapati told me that you are assigned a bungalow based on how many people you make believe in God. If you converted 200 people in the belief in God, you will be given bungalow number 1. If you're given 2,000, then it's 10 times the size. So he says, how the heck did you do that? He says, you know what he used to do? He was the Patpatia driver from Old Delhi. And normally you're supposed to take 4 people, he would take 17 people. They are all hanging from the roof and so on. And you're not supposed to drive more than 20 miles per hour. He will drive at 60 miles per hour, and he will break out all the rules. And somehow or the other he will reach. And he says by that time everybody believed they were alive only because of God, not because of this guy. So every trip he says, frankly, if I tell you, even though you are a Gita teacher, you are somewhat boring. And you had some old people that got converted, but I counted, there were, I think, a total of about 23 people in your whole life who got converted. This fellow converts 17 people in every trip. He says, what am I supposed to do? And this is Prajapati's rules for me. So this is what it is. Anyway, so here the point is that Swamiji was giving this Josh, and I was driving, I almost lost it. And in his broken Hindi, because he doesn't speak very good Hindi, and he was talking to this, and my parents were also sitting in the car. And I was driving across the Dumbarton Bridge. I still remember, I laughed so much. And I think that was the 3rd time he had told me the same joke. So anyway, here, coming back to this, the Manushya, and so the Deva is the Upasya, and Manushya is the Upasaka. They are not always Upasya and Upasaka. Because here, the Upasya becomes the Upasaka for Indra. So it's the duality of roles. It is all part of all part of transactional reality, not them. Okay, so now then we go into the three examples given in the verse. Why are they given? We should see that. The three examples given is what's the verse that I read? So four examples are given. One is Karya Karanataya, which is really not an example, it's a common theme for all of them. Karana Karanataya, Swaswami Sambandhataha, Shishya Acharyataya, Tatha Eva Pitra Putratyatmana Bhedataha. Four things. So, Karya Karanataya is what is called a Manasa Vyavahara. Manasa Vyavahara. This is all given in by Sureshwaracharya ji for us to understand. So Manasa Vyavahara means we should understand mentally what is a cause and what is an effect. Like for example, a clay pot is a effect and clay is the karana. And so that concept is mentally seen in our mind, even though you haven't even formed any parts yet. The ornaments have not been formed, but you can tell that there is a karana and karya. And by the way, one interesting thing that will come a little later on, what they say is that the karana is present in the karya even though it has become a karya. What is present in the karana is what is called anusyutam. Anusyutam means that it also becomes a karya. The karana must already be there. This is why they say that, for example, that sand is not a karana for a clay pot because it doesn't have the ability to become a pot. But a clay has the ability to become a pot, therefore it is already there in the case of a pot. So this is called the anusyutam. This is an important thing I'll explain to you when we talk about Maya Shakti in a minute. Anyway, just to speed up things. So the Karya Karanam is a Manasa Vyavahara, which is also called Adi Daivika. So the three kinds of Shanti that we have is Adi Daivika, then Adi Bhautika, and Adhyatmika. So the first one here is Adi Daivika, means that this is done by Devas, how the Karana becomes a Karya and so on. Then the second one is Swaswami Sambandha, and so means that a master and the helper, the owner of a business and the people that are work in the business. Though that kind of a Swas and Swami Bandha. So this is Daihika. Daihika means that it is made out of bodies. It is, and so you actually have a payroll, and the owner of the payroll is the Swami, and the one who is on the payroll is the servant or some helper. So this is what is called Adi Bhautika. Just some, and we don't have time to really explain all of it, but it is done in a very structured manner. These are not just tossed out without any meaning. And the third one is Guru Shishya. And the same thing, by the way, of Pitra and Putra. So the father and son, that's also the same as Guru Shishya in both cases. But here it is, you can even say the Pita and the Putra can be Daihika. Yeah, I think that will happen in the second one. But in the third one, Guru Shishya is Shastriya. So you are not my student for other things, but for Shastra, you are my students, for the learning of Shastra. And so similarly, I am a Shastra student when other Swamis come. And so this is what happens. I'm sitting here, and you are sitting there. When Swami Tattvavidananda comes, then I sit there with you. And I become the Shishya and he becomes the teacher. Like that it happens. So this is also Adhyatmika. So one question here is that if Ishvara is Bandha, didn't you say that Ishvara is both the Bandha and Moksha, it all belongs to Ishvara, Parameshvara? Yes. So that means you and I only have dukkha just from us. But Parameshvara must be very dukhi, because there are millions of people who, if he is the dukhi for all of them, then he must be Mahadukhi. How is that? So the answer is no. Because he knows, whereas you and I do not know it yet. We will. That the dukkha belongs to the reflection, not to the bimba. It is only in the pratibimba, only in the mirror. There's a shaking and dirt and all kinds of things. It all happens, and he's not concerned about that. That's all part of the Srishti itself. So that one is also was given. Now, one other thing before we go to Maya, and which is an explanation of Pita Putra. So here Swami Maheshananji pointed out that if you look at his basic point is, before I go into the specifics, his basic point is that the more words you have of different concepts, then the more complications there are, the more imaginations there are. If you look at, for example, the red wine versus red wine. So if you go to a party, they'll say, what do you want? You want red wine or white wine? Then you, first of all, you don't even like wine. So, but if that's all there is, then you say, okay, I'll take red wine. Because people have said red wine actually is healthy and so on and so forth. I'll take red wine. The red wine means what kind of red wine? There's Cabernet, and there is Pinot Noir, and there is this and that, white wine, there is Chablis, there is Chardonnay, and so on. The more sophisticated you get, the more differentiated you get in words and concepts, more complex the whole world becomes. And Swami Maheshananji gives this example. He says, in the West, all siblings of father and mother are called uncle and aunties. Uncle, 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 that's it. In India, we have much more sophistication. So now, are you the older brother of your father? Then you're called Taya in Hindi. If you are the younger brother, it is called Chacha. So it's Chachi, Tai, and now you have 4 of them. And by the way, it is not just for fun. You have to behave in them differently. Yeah, with Chacha you can be more friends. And as my older son has 2 daughters, and my younger son, when he comes, they climb all over him. He's just like a horse because he's a Chacha. But he was older than his older brother. They wouldn't have done so. And so what it means is, and this is exactly what is said I think it is in the Chandogya Upanishad, Vacharambhanam namadheyam mrittika ityeva satyam. Means that this is just nama matram. And so the name becomes something that you have to behave in. It all points out to the mithyatvam, that you make a word out of it and then you behave accordingly. There is no reality to it whatsoever. This is the point that is being made. Now the last topic, which is what is Maya? Remember the questions of the original one, that if you say that the bondage is due to Maya, then explain what Maya is. And so now in verse number 10, I believe, the Maya is taken up. And it starts with a basic definition of Maya, and then explains the more details of it in verse number 11 and so on. The basic definition of Maya is badhyata. So basic definition, clean definition, is also in Sanskritam called lakshana. Word lakshana means it only applies to that one thing, to no one else. That thing, a lakshana, defines something uniquely in the whole creation. So, for example, the word table, it may have some changes. You may have a 3-legged table or a 4-legged table or a 6-legged table, but it should be a table. Table means that it must have a raised surface, and it should be flat, and it should be stable. You cannot have a 2-legged table. So a table means, as soon as you say table, it uniquely defines that vastu. This is called lakshana. So what is the lakshana of Maya that no other thing has in the whole creation? The lakshana of Maya is badhyata. Badhyata. Badhyata means one which is subject to disappearance. It may be there, but it cannot, the fact that it is there, it is not intrinsic to that vastu. It is borrowing the isness from something else. When the thing that it is borrowing it from is withdrawn, then the vastu disappears. This is called badhyata. So in our famous example of rope and snake, so the snake is due to Maya through ignorance. Maya has various factors to it. One, individually, it's according to ignorance, and it has an ability to be, to appearance wise, it can be sat, but it will go. The only thing that cannot go will not be under Maya. But anything that goes, the whole world goes, all experiences change, everything goes. So the Maya is the very basis of the whole world. So the basic definition, lakshana of Maya is badhyata. Badhyata means one which is subject to disappearance, is the clean definition. So then in verse number 11, some more detailed definition of Maya. I think we'll finish it today also. I won't finish verse number 8, but the subtopics that I created, I think we'll finish it. So before we go into a more detailed definition of Maya, one side question has come up. And that side question is given in the MU number 11, which says, wait a second. You're saying that really everything in the world is Maya, is a Maya Vastu. So we say yes, we say that. And how can, which is Mithya. Mithya and Maya are similar. Maya creates Mithya. So Mithya means the one which is subject to disappearance, which is only an appearance. That means it is not real. So we say yes, that's true. How can a Mithya Vastu create a Satya Vastu? A reasonable question, good question, because a Mithya Vastu, it is at a lower level of reality than Satya Vastu. So how can a Mithya Vastu, you see, the Mithya Vastu is like a dream. So dream Vastus can only affect dream things. It cannot create or affect Jagrat Vastu. He says, how is that possible? This whole concept of Maya, etc., you're all thinking, your thinking is not false. So the answer given to that is, that's not true. We see this being done in our lives all the time. So 3 examples were given. One is called Pratima Puja. Pratima Puja means that when you go to the Ganesha temple, you are not praying to Ganesha sitting there. You are praying to the Murti of Ganesha in the temple. But guess what? If you do a good job of doing puja to the Murti of Ganesha, Ganesha is definitely pleased. No question about that. Even though you don't see the real Ganesha, but the Mithya Ganesha, which you have now, and this is why the Prana Pratishtha is done in the temples, as you know. So the Prana Pratishtha means it's a very rigorous process. It's not a joke. You have to do a lot of Vedic chants, and with your sankalpa, with your devotion, and so on. Then that Murti is given Prana Pratishtha. But still, the Murti is just sitting there like that. It's not moving. It's not moving your eyes and say, do you bless me? And if it was a real Ganesha, he'll say yes. But the Murti doesn't do that. He just sits there. But a Mithya Vastu can give you real results. This is well known in our Shastra, that if you do the prayers very sincerely and so on, there is no question that the results will not be given to you. Unless you have some bandikas, that's possible. But generally speaking, you will get some results for sure. So similarly, now we can talk about, this is the example on the left hand side. On the right hand side, just to save time, the Shabda Jnanam is the same thing. The Shabda Jnanam means that the Jnanam resulting from words. So the words are not Brahman. But if you look at the words carefully and listen to it with all your heart, then the words become a pratima pratika actually, in this case, Om, becomes a pratika of the Brahman. So yes, it is very possible. It is very possible that mithya vastu can generate a satya vastu. This is the first example. The second one is very interesting. I couldn't find the English, the Sanskritam for photos. Something we should do that. But anyway, here Swami Maheshanji says nowadays, even actually in the old days also, marriages take place because of the photographs.
Yeah.
Photographs. In fact, I tell you, I lived in an era, because I'm so old, you will see how old I am. I lived in an era where even photographs were not there. It was 1953, and my maternal uncle, Mama, so that's another thing, you see, is not uncle, which his maternal uncle is called Mama. And so my Mamaji was getting married, and my grandparents went to see a girl in New Delhi. So we were in Amritsar. Did I tell you this before? No, I must have. I think it seemed like I talked about this in some other classes, but I still remember. So I won't tell you my age, but I was not quite a teenager by then, in 1953. And so one day, the rickshaw came, and because we don't know when our Nana Nani were coming back from New Delhi. They had disappeared for about 4 or 5 days. And one day the rickshaw came, and the rickshaw has kind of like a ring to it. Pring, pring. And then that means open the gate. And so we opened the gate, he came in, and on the rickshaw was a huge basket of fruits and some mithai. So that means that the engagement had taken place. This is really what it means. And my Mamaji was very shy, and of course he was getting married. He's the one who's, and so he didn't say a word or anything. So my Nana and Naniji, I was there, I remember this scene so well. And so they sat down, they were given a glass of water, they went to the bathroom and so on. And they said, "Theek ho gaya sab kuch, everything is fine." And so, "Theek ho gaya" means, who is she? What does it look like? No photographs. There were no photographs. So they described this woman, she's about 5 feet 4 inches tall and good looking and so on and so forth. That was the only description. But then came an era. Now that era has also disappeared. There's no photograph. Now you have to see, have to be in real contact. But for a long time, you got married through photographs. Photograph is mithya jnanam. It is not the real stuff, it is the pratibimba of the real. But real marriages take place because of photographs. So it is not true to say that photographs cannot generate real marriages. It does. So this is what is called Shrishti Prakriya. Shabda Jnanam and the Shrishti Prakriya means that it is possible to have a Shrishti where just nowadays of course it could be, a video or WhatsApp or something. This is all the Shrishti. Through the Shrishti, things can happen and people have real relationships and so on. So don't say that the that mithya cannot generate satyam. And then of course the final one, which is the real pratibimba. And every morning we do this. We when I shave, I don't shave with my eyes closed, because I can cut myself, or if you are a woman and you're putting some lipstick or something like this, you look at your reflection in the mirror. And by that you can do a good job on the real face. So all this means that it is possible to do so. So to end it now, after the basic definition of Maya, which we did earlier, which is, remember, what is that? What is the basic definition of Maya? Badhyata. Badhyata is the basic definition of Maya. Whatever is subject to disappearance is Maya. What is not subject to disappearance, and there's only one thing which is not subject to disappearance, which is you, the Atma. Only one thing. Everything else is nothing but Maya. The entire experience is nothing but a form of Maya. You are not touched by Maya. That is the basic definition. Now we give you a little bit more color to that very quickly in the next 5 minutes, and we'll be done. So these are now that was the basic definition, is the common definition. So this is what is called Samanya Jnanam. Samanya Jnanam is the basic definition. Then Vishesha Jnanam means there are some special characteristics. What are those? Those special characteristics are that the nature of Maya is that it frightens you or captivates you, either one, when you don't really inquire into it. You take it for its face value and then just run with it. It has the ability to make a fool out of you. So uninquired, it appears real, and then you are mohita. You are attracted by or repelled by it for that reason. So both positive and negative. Both. Just like, for example, the example of a snake is repelled by it. And seeing a piece of cigarette which appears the silver of this silver cover of the cigarette cover looks like some real silver, is what it attracts you. So both positive nivritti and pravritti are both possible. And then, if the other characteristic of Maya is that if you look into it, it disappears. Uninquired, it appears real, and so Brahma means that it is uninquired, Prama means that it is inquired and it stays. The closer you go to it, this is the characteristic of Atma versus Anatma. Anatma appears not to be there. The fact that I am unborn appears to be unknown, unknowable, alien, impossible, because I have not inquired into it. And what is not there appears to be real because I have not inquired into it. So the best way to distinguish between Anatma and Atma is to inquire into both of them and keep your filter in hand. Is every step, if it becomes clearer, then it is real. If every step that you take, it becomes vaguer, becomes more and more vague, then it is Maya. This is the special characteristic of Maya. Then the final one, actually this we will continue perhaps next week also, but let me start on it. So ultimately the last thing is, Maya is anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya, as you know very well, is a very important word to really grasp in your mind. You should really be, if you are a good student of Vedanta, if you're a student of Vedanta, not good, everyone, these definitions must be crystal clear. Anirvachaniya, just like Badhyata. Anirvachaniya means that it is neither Sat nor Asat. It has a connection, it doesn't have a connection. It has a role and it doesn't have a role. Both of them. So I think that there's more to be said about it, but starting with verse number 14 and 15. And I have a feeling that now we will wrap up the Dakshinamurthy Stotram, verse number 8, next time when we meet. Whenever that is, I can't remember. But with that, I think verse number 8 will be finished, and then we will go on to the last two verses. Om asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityo ma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So is this pace okay? Is you're not too fast, not too slow? You're able to grasp almost everything?
I think the notes are helping.
Yeah, I think they should. I'm also feeling that it, and then it's there for you to refer to. In fact, in the Gita class, there is a lady from Austin, Texas. Her name is Jennifer Sterling, who is she's one of Ramanand Patel's students, and she joined the Gita class, and she's a lawyer by profession and a very educated person, and she's appreciating the classes so that I don't know if you've seen that anybody is attending the Gita class. So what we have done is she transcribes the class in a PDF form and we post it on the website. So we've had 18 classes so far, and she's done a marvelous job. And only last week we did this for the Gita class with the help of Raj Paripatyadar, and now he's shown me. So what I do is I put this on Word document because I don't have an ability to switch over to OneNote yet. I'm working on it. So what I can do is attach it as a Word document and send it by email to myself, and I open it up here and I can display it. So this has come out to be very handy in the Gita class. But in any case, all the 18 classes have been put into a kind of a nice note, and we're thinking that we could even reform it into some kind of a booklet. So she and I are working towards that. So yeah, I also think that this, and also it is helpful to me to kind of compose the things that I can cover in about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. And then I don't have to really wing it. I can be free on my comments, but at least there is a basic structure on what I will do. Yeah. So good. Yeah, I think that we have to think about the next text for the evening. Tuesday evening, and very possibly, to be frank, I think what we could think about is not even having a real class on Tuesday night because of traffic. I can perhaps teach it from my home because now it takes me a minimum of 1 hour to get here, and I can save that time to do so. But then you lose the contact with people, and so I'm not sure that I will do that, but it certainly has entered my mind. So we'll have to see how that goes. And even now, I think that we usually have about, guessing about 25 to 30 people who are not here, who are regularly listening. So we might think about doing that. I'll have a nice library in my, and so have a photograph of that as I teach. I don't know. I still enjoy that. I can't see. I think if there's enough people that come here, I'll send out a survey when we start the next text, and then see how what people think, and then we will base it on that. But we have to select a good, nice text also. Okay. Yeah.
There's a question from one of the
Yeah.
viewers who is taking the class. What about Viveka Chudamani?
See, Viveka Chudamani is too long of a text. It is the sort of like a Bhagavad Gita plus, and it's more of a reference book. And so the best thing to take that is specific sections out of it, which are kept in. So that book is normally taught in an ashram where you have daily classes. So it would take about 300 to 400 classes to finish Viveka Chudamani.
The listener says this makes a very nice parallel to the Bhagavad Gita classes.
Already we have a book which is only 1/3 finished yet. We've already been at for 3 years. So possibly, I'm not negating it. I think it'll be nice to make a 3-class package, which is, because right now it's kind of like everywhere. Not clear how the 3 classes are. It'd be nice to have it segmented so that it's beginning, intermediate, and advanced. And the advanced class, of course, means that you should also know quite a bit of Sanskrit. And many of you don't. So I'm somewhat restricted. I could take, this is the reason I used to teach Shankara Bhashya, as you know, a number of years back, and I found that it's not as useful because you don't know Sanskrit. And so it had to be very slow. And so anyway, my teaching style will evolve based on what I feel is...
Some topics from Brahma Sutra Bhashya.
Yeah, like that we will do. Certainly we need to take one book which is Nididhyasanam, which is very advanced, like Ashtavakra Gita. That could be done. Naishkarmya Siddhi, there are several of them. Gita, of course, will continue, which is more of a basic one. And then for this one, one possibility for this evening class is that I take specific topics which are only like 8 to 10 classes, and then when the topic is finished, then we go on to the next one. That's a possibility I think I might take. Swami Dayanand did that towards the latter part of his life in quite a bit. And so I could do that. That's a possibility. In fact, I'm composing it for the 4th of January. I'm taking a section out of Panchadashi, and I'm composing it. It's about 8 or 10 pages long, and I'll give a summary of that on that puja on the 4th of January. So let's see how that goes. If you enjoy that, if you get a lot out of it, then I might repeat it as a text later on as well. So we'll see. Okay. All right. Thanks.